What's going on, guys? ACP here, back with another GOAT format video. I have to ask you guys, what is that you're here for? Do you like drama? Do you like conspiracies? Do you like some good old classic internet detective work? Well, strap in, boys and girls. Because here, I am putting this on display for you guys. I streamed this match last week. I stream GOAT format every Friday evening EST. Be sure to tune in. So I streamed this match, and towards the end, it started to get a little suspicious. I was like, I think this guy's watching my stream. And it's funny, because occasionally, not a lot of people play GOAT format compared to current format, so I might have, 40 people watching my stream, so decent odds that, maybe someone's watching my stream, decides to jump into the GOAT format queue on DuelingBook, and, happens to play against me. And when that happens, most of the time, as far as I know, they'll admit it. They'll be nice about it. I've had people who go, oh, didn't realize it was you. I'm going to turn off your stream now. Totally cool. But I've had other people try to run the big cheats. And I don't know that this guy was watching my stream, so I'll let you guys decide. I'm going to break this down play by play. And I will put forth the evidence that I believe that this guy was watching my stream. This guy made some very unusual plays that really only make sense if he knows my entire hand. So, without further ado, let's move on here. So, in this match, I am playing, your sort of standard Thunder Dragon Chaos deck, Chaos Turbo as some people call it. My opponent is on the Chris Perovic Monarchs. Now, I've got his hand revealed. Obviously, when we were playing in real time, we couldn't see his hand. But could the same be said of our opponent? Let's find out. So, we do happen to open a very good hand here. We discard Double Knight Assailants, get back the other ones. And, we don't know what the matchup is yet. So I decided to set Gravekeeper Spy. We don't have a way to stop an attacker, so I set the more defensive monster. Set the 2 cross sets so I wouldn't have to discard. We say go. So far here, our opponent is probably gonna, he's gonna Pot of Greed, which is totally standard. Now, here's where things get interesting. So, for monsters, our opponent has a few options, right? As far as what monster he's going to play this turn. So he can't play a Monarch, right? Because we don't have a face-up monster from the brain control. However, he could summon a Zura Priest and attack. That would be the standard play, right? He doesn't know what deck we're on. Well, he knows what deck we're on, but he doesn't know what our monster is. So if it's something like a Magician of Faith, like a Dekochi, normally he'd want to attack it. The other thing that he could do, of course, is he could, set Sinister either to block a hit or, try to set up for a Monarch play. He does neither. He just sets Scapegoat and passes. And this is very interesting because, here, there is generally going to be no downside to summoning a Zura Priest and attacking unless you are very, very, very confident that your opponent has Gravekeeper Spy set. Now, he might think that we have Night Assailant set, since, he does know that we have 2 Thunder Dragons, 2 Night Assailants, even if he's not cheating. But, trading Azura for Night Assailant would be pretty standard here. Again, there's not really, a whole lot of reason not to. But he just says go. So far, maybe you could just chalk this up as, our opponent's just kind of doing a weird play, right? I'm not saying this alone means that he was watching our stream. So again, I don't know what the matchup is yet. I even said this on stream. I decided to attack with both spies, going, the only way that we get punished for this play is if our opponent has Azura Priest. And not a lot of decks in the meta right now main Azura Priest. It is a fairly common side deck card, but it's not a very common main deck card, and usually when it is main decked, it's only 1. So, I just set the Dekochi and say go. Of course, our opponent does have the Azura Priest, so obviously there we get punished for flipping the spy. Our opponent gets rewarded for not playing the Azura last turn, even though it is the more standard play. But obviously, you know, we're still in the game, right? We're still up on cards. We're up on life. So, you know, totally fine. So yeah, so here I decided to set Night Assailant. Again, I don't know what the matchup is necessarily, but I have these Night Assailants that are not really doing anything. So, you could make the case for, like, playing Warrior Lady instead. You know, it's hard to say without knowing the matchup, you know, which is necessarily going to be better on average versus the meta. Here our opponent goes Sinister Meta. I think this is just a standard play here for him. He could summon the Azura and attack, but, like, if I were him, you know, even if I wasn't cheating, I'd probably just go Sinister Meta too. So far, nothing to be suspicious of, right? So here, I believe I don't play a monster. I think maybe I just set, like, a spell or trap. Oh, no, I have Chaos Sorcerer. So yeah, I just decided to just go for the +1 here. This is also pretty standard for us. Like, not really a great reason not to do this. The Night Assailant goes to our grave, so, you know, we can get the Night Assailant loop, of course. You know, if we want to, if we go Wing Blast, discard Night Assailant, it's basically just a free discard. Here, I guess I was worried about Heavy Storm, so I decided to just not set the Wing Blast yet. Figured I probably wouldn't need it. But now the cat's kind of out of the bag because he's going to brain control our guy. So now we know that we're not playing against, you know, Goat Control or something like that. He does the correct play here, which is attack for 23 and tribute main phase 2. Yeah, so he tributes for Thystalos. Now here's where things start to get interesting, right? So, if you are our opponent here, and you have perfect information, right? Obviously, my hand is visible on stream. What would be the best card to discard here? Well, it would obviously be Snatch Steal. So, of course, he picks our Snatch Steal. 1 out of 6 chance that randomly happening. Okay, so you could say, alright, maybe he made a weird play on turn 1 by not playing the Azura Priest. Alright, maybe he got lucky and discarded the Snatch Steal, right? So far, you know, again, at this point, when I'm streaming, I'm not suspicious at all, right? I'm just like, you know, this seems normal enough. Our opponent's gotten a little lucky. You know, we can still come back and win, right? It's all good. So, again, our opponent, like, kind of has a few plays here that he can do. And it's hard to, like, he has a few different options. It's kind of hard to say what, like, the best ones are necessarily, right? It's just kind of debatable. It would, like, really depend for him. You know, obviously, if you don't know, like, what we have, it's kind of hard to decide. Now, of course, we do have Torrential set, and we also have Faith set. And if you know, you're our opponent and you know that our sets are Torrential and Faith, well, what is the best play here, right? The best play would be to summon Azura, you know, thinking that, well, he's probably not going to Torrential because he wants his Faith to resolve and get back Graceful. And then obviously after the Azura hit goes through, you would cross out. So, you know, you play around Torrential while not playing around Mirror Force, but obviously if you know that we have Torrential set but not Mirror Force, that would just be the right play. And surely enough, our opponent does, you know, play around Torrential, but not Mirror Force by summoning Azura, going cross out, which sucks to be us. I could have Torrential on this Azura, but again, I was just kind of like, well, I really want this Faith to resolve. Obviously here, it does not resolve. Our opponent doesn't play any Faith, which is kind of like the standard build now for this kind of Monarch deck. So yeah, so I believe I decided to just take the damage. You could make a case for Wing Blasting something, but I decided to take the damage, and save it. Part of the reason is that, like, these Monarch decks usually play Decree and they don't play Ring, so I don't really have to worry about getting rings. Obviously, this BLS is a good draw. I don't have a light in my grave, although I could. Yeah, I could pitch one. So I decided to go Wing Blast on the back row, discarding Thunder Dragon to put the light in my grave. Now this sucks for me because I didn't know he had goats. So that is, pretty rough situation here for us. Goats is like the one card that we don't want to see because now we can't, we can't kill him. If his back row was anything other than goats, we would just go BLS, DD Warrior Lady, and attack for game. I think instead I just decided to set the other Night Assailant, going, what's the worst that can really happen? And, again, now if you're our opponent, right? If your opponent, that one of our 3 cards in hand is Thunder Dragon, if you're not cheating. Now, there's a lot of different options here. You could go Grand Marg on the monster and try to attack for game. Instead, what he does is he tributes for Thestalos. Now, if he hits our BLS, it's just game, right? Because we just, we take 800 burn damage and we're dead. So surely enough, he doesn't decide to play Grand Mark. He doesn't decide to play Blowback Dragon. He doesn't even decide to do some sort of, I don't know, like meta goat for Thousand Eyes and then tribute for something. He doesn't do any of that. He does what's arguably a very sort of suboptimal play, unless you just know what our cards are and know you can hit the BLS. He plays the Thestalos. He randomly picks the BLS. We decided to torrential, but that doesn't really matter. And here's the interesting thing. Our opponent, I think, I don't know, maybe to avoid arousing suspicion, rolls a dice, gets a 2, picks our BLS anyway. Now, how is, regardless of which direction you're going from, if you go right to left, the second card's Warrior Lady. If you go left to right, our second card is still Warrior Lady, and yet he picks BLS and we lose and go to game 2. Now, in spite of all this, again, when I was on stream, at this point, it's only game 1. And I am, I'm not suspicious yet. I'm just kind of like, well, our opponent got really lucky. He discarded Snatch Steal, which was lucky. He discarded BLS, which was lucky. He had the goats for our Wing Blast, which was lucky. So I'm just like, well, dang, it's Yu-Gi-Oh, not chess. You can't win them all, right? So let's see what happens here. We did side into Zero, which is very good against Monarchs, and we did happen to draw it. I think here I do, I set Faith, set Wing Blast, which is a decent play because we can go Wing Blast, discard a spell, and get it back with Faith. Not necessarily a great play, not necessarily a great opening hand, but I figure, hey, we'll give it a shot. So our opponent decides to go Soul Exchange into Thestalos. So again, let's think here. If you are our opponent and you have perfect information, you're watching the stream and you know our hand, what is the best card to discard with Thestalos here? You would probably say, well, it's probably Snatch Steal, right? Probably Snatch Steal. And what does he discard? Oh, he discards Snatch Steal again. So 3 discards so far. He's hit the best card every time. Best card every time. And it's our turn. It is our turn. We set the Sangan and we say go. Now, say you're our opponent here, and you don't know that our monster is Sangan, right? You don't know that our monster is Sangan. You don't know that our spell or trap is Wing Blast. There are a few things you might do here. You might exile, pop the monster, and try to attack directly. Because again, you don't know it's Sangan, right? You might summon Grand Marg, pop one of these cards, and try to attack, either attack directly or attack the monster. Obviously here our monster's Sangan and our set is chainable. But instead, what does he do? What does he do here? I actually don't remember. He just attacks. Doesn't use exile, doesn't use Grand Marg, doesn't go for like mid-shield guard to creature swap. Just attacks. Again, very non-standard play here. But, again, he happens to pick the perfect play again. He happens to pick perfect play again. Now, so yeah, I think here what I do is, we got Light and a Dark in our grave, which is good. So I decide to Wing Blast the monster, which I don't know is a mid-shield garden, of course. Otherwise, I might not do that. We get back Sinister. And then I decide to card Destruction, hoping that we top like a Chaos monster and sort of get back in the game. But of course, we don't top a Chaos monster, which kind of sucks for us. Kind of sucks. I imagine I probably just like set Torrential and say go if I had to guess. Yeah, set Torrential and say go. Spy is not very good here. Because our opponent's got a big guy. Obviously, Breaker and MST don't do anything. And, again, if we don't have Torrential, you might, I don't know, maybe Tribute for another Thestalos. I don't know. I guess here, like, the standard play is probably just to attack directly. So I think that's what happens. Yeah, he just does the standard play, attacks us directly. We take it. We don't really have much of a choice. We'll see what he does. Yeah, he just sets the mid shield. Says go. And, here I decide to just take the Sinister and just summon it and get the +1 off the Torrential. Set ring, say go. So again, pretty standard here. Our opponent draws Decree. This is a pretty standard card for Monarchs to main deck now. He sets it and says go, which I will say this is the one play that perhaps makes me think maybe he wasn't watching the stream, because obviously here we just get a really nice Breaker hit. Although, I mean, obviously it's kind of tough, because like if we have Breaker and MST, what are you gonna do? Just never set Decree? There's not necessarily a way for him to play around that. But who knows? I think this is probably the best evidence that our opponent perhaps wasn't watching our stream. Although maybe he just wanted us to summon Breaker, right? Maybe he just wanted us to summon Breaker so that he could brain control it and play a Monarch. That would kind of make sense too, actually. So actually, even if he knows what we have, I don't think this is a bad play for him, because it gives him a brain control target, and he's just sitting on these brain controls that he kind of wants to play, right? If he doesn't set the Decree, then we probably set Spy, and then, he gets a flip Spy, thin our deck, and then, it takes longer from the brain control. So here he brain controls. Now what's interesting is, in the previous game, he would attack in Tribute main phase 2. Let's see if he does that again here. So, he does. And again, that's just kind of like a standard play. And, he tributes for Thestalos. And again, let's think. If you're our opponent and you know what our hand is, what is the best card to hit with Thestalos? Now, clearly it's not Sinister. Clearly it's not MST. It's probably going to be either Gravekeeper Spy or Wing Blast. We could debate on which one would be the better card to hit. Here he, randomly chooses our Gravekeeper Spy. So again, here with the random discard, he hits either, I don't know, the best or second best card in our hand, depending on your perspective. We take 400 damage. And I believe he says go. I don't know, maybe he sets Brain Control to bait MST. Okay, he sets Brain Control to potentially bait MST. Obviously, Chaos Sorcerer is a really good draw here for us. There's no reason for us to MST here, really, so we're just going to do standard play. Summon Chaos Sorcerer, banish his guy. Yeah, I decide to set 2, I guess. Yeah, I decided to set MST just in case this is Decree, because I don't want our Wing Blast to get decreed. So, from our perspective, this play makes sense. So yeah, our opponent... This is kind of interesting, because keep in mind, obviously, I don't know our opponent's hand. I assumed he has, like, I don't know, some sort of other Monarch, like a Grand Marg, or maybe even another Thestalos, although that would be the third. And yeah, he goes, decides to attack for 3,000. Here is kind of an interesting decision. I just decide to Wing Blast my own Chaos Sorcerer, thinking that, hey, he's going to tribute for a Monarch. I don't want him to do that. Again, obviously, I don't know his card is Zaborg, and I figure, hey, we redraw our Chaos Sorcerer. That's totally fine. Now here's where things get interesting. Right? You know, some of these plays, it's like, well, maybe he got lucky. Maybe he just sort of picked a non-standard play. We have MST set here. Now, our opponent, if he doesn't know that we have MST, what would the standard play here be here, right? Either set Scapegoat and say go, or maybe if you're like not sure if your opponent has MST, maybe you set Scapegoat like and Brain Control, just thinking, well, I don't know, maybe I'd rather him MST the Brain Control or something. So watch what he does. He does an extremely non-standard play, a play that really only makes sense if he knows for sure that we have MST, which is he just activates Scapegoat from his hand, right? To sort of guarantee that he gets the 4 tokens, but then play around our set MST for the rest of the game. So he says go. We draw our Sorcerer. This is kind of a tricky spot for us here. We could play Sorcerer, but there's a lot of ways that can go wrong for us. So I decide to just summon Sinister, attack a token, and say go. Our opponent draws Heavy, which is a pretty good draw for him. I'm not sure if he plays it now or if he waits. Yeah, he decides to just wait, which is, I mean, probably standard. I mean, Heavy Storm with no follow-up isn't really a very good play. So, you know, we don't know our opponent's hand here at all. He has, you know, 3 potentially very scary cards. So I decide to just attack the Goat token and say go. Our opponent just says go again. We draw into Trap Dust Shoot, which is a very, very good draw for us. I do main 2 Dust Shoots in this list, so obviously I kept them sided in. So yeah, so I just decide to set the Dust Shoot, say go. Our opponent draws Meta, pretty good draw for him. It's an okay draw for him, it's not like insane. So we Dust Shoot, send back the only card that we can send back, and now we're working with Perfect Info. Perhaps our opponent has Perfect Info too, but at a minimum, we've at least evened the score, so to speak. Our opponent decides to just play Heavy, because now we know that he has it. I decide to just Chain Ring on the Goat token. Pretty standard. I imagine our opponent probably will just set another Goats. Yeah, he's just going to set another Goats and say go. Here it's kind of interesting because we draw into Heavy Storm. We know that our opponent has Goats. Here I decide to Heavy Storm anyway. And this is kind of a... You know, this is a non-standard play for us. You know, again, we have perfect information here. The reason I decided to do this is because I'm not likely to get great value out of this Heavy Storm in the future, so I'd rather force him to activate Goats now and have to eat Sinister hits, rather than have him use Goats later and eat Chaos Sorcerer hits, if that makes any sense. And obviously by, like, clearing the Goats, you know, if we do that within the next couple of turns, this meta that, you know, we know that he has is potentially just dead. He decided to set meta and say go, which is interesting, I guess. You know, we could debate what the right play is for him here, you know, depending on, you know, if he's cheating, if he's not cheating. But yeah, he decides to just, hey, I can afford to lose another Goat token. Now here he's kind of in a tight spot because, you know, next turn we can flip the Night Assailant, kill all the Goats, and then he's, you know, kind of a tough spot. You know, he decides to meta. Obviously, he's going to target the Night Assailant. That's just a standard play. Interestingly, I decide not to book. I guess, yeah, I decided not to book because I know that he has brain and I want to save the book for the brain control. So yeah, I think that's kind of also just standard. And yeah, this is kind of a case where it's like he sort of knows that we want to be doing that. I was considering what to book here because we can either book our Sinister and have him attack and we get it back, or we can book his own guy. After thinking about it for a little while, I decided booking his own guy is probably just the best play. Yeah, he decided to just set 2. Obviously, like, he doesn't really have to worry about Heavy Storm or MST at this point because those are gone. So, I don't know. I guess we know that one of them's brain because we saw the brain with Dust Shoot. But the swap we didn't see, so that could potentially be a scary card. But I'm not really scared here because these decks usually don't play Mirror or Torrential. So I decided to just, attack with the Sorcerer. They both go through. Obviously, we're going to add 2 Thunder Dragons. And I decide to Tribute Sinister for a set Thunder Dragon main phase 2. I think that's also pretty standard. That way we get, like, the Sinister back, which is kind of nice. Let's see what he does here. I imagine he'll probably... Well, there's a few things he could do. Probably the best play is Breaker. Well, yeah, it's actually kind of awkward. Probably the best play is Breaker, attack the set Thunder Dragon, and then Brain Control Sorcerer or banish itself. Again, this is, just standard for him. Oh yeah, or you could do it that way. Yeah, actually that's probably better. I don't know. It's debatable which is better. It's just a question of, like, do you want to use your swap or your brain control, right? We add our Sinister. We set a monster. Obviously, from our perspective, we think that he thinks it's probably Sinister. Obviously, either way, he's going to be attacking. This Decree doesn't really help him very much. And I assume we have some good targets in there. And we know that this set is brain control. So yes, I'm pretty sure I decided to get back Snatch Steal. It was either that or... what else did we have? Yeah, it was either that or Card Destruction. It's like, well, we can Card Destruction and draw 2, or we can Snatch Steal and just take back our Sorcerer. Likely for us, we just draw into BLS. And again, obviously we know this card's brain control, and these decks don't really play Mirror or Torrential, so I just decided to go for game. And obviously the card they drew is Decree, so we do win game 2. And so far, actually, again, on stream, I was not suspicious yet. The one thing that seemed weird to me was when he activated the Scapegoat from his hand. I was thinking, like, man, like, that's such a weird play unless he just somehow knows we have MST. But I wasn't thinking yet, like, oh, wait, I bet this mofo's watching our stream. Luckily here we have a pretty good opening hand. Our opponent, yeah, he decided to, like, side out the mid-shield Gardeners, I believe. I think he, like, sided them in and then sided them out. I don't know what he was doing with those. So yeah, we do the standard play here. Discard Thunder Dragon, add 2. And Pot of Greed. I think I was probably just assuming that this monster is probably a mid-shield Gardener, so I wasn't really too worried about the monster. So yeah, I figured set Faith, hope the Faith resolves. If the Faith resolves, we probably just win. So yeah, so I decided to say go. He draws into the Monarch, which is pretty... I mean, that's a very good draw for him. Very good draw for him. Obviously, tributing Sagan, perfect. Good card. He targets a monster, which, again, is just the standard play here. Nothing to really be suspicious about so far. He decides to get Reaper. He attacks us. I think I just take the hit. Pretty sure I just take the hit. Oh, I actually decided to Wing Blast. Oh, I decided to Wing Blast because I just wanted to get Faith back. I think that was kind of the plan. I was like, I just want to try to Faith for Pot of Greed. And then it also puts a Dark in my grave for a Chaos monster later. So I was just like, yeah, it's not necessarily like the best spot to Wing Blast, but discarding Night Assailant is sick, so, you know. So yeah, I'm just on the Magician of Faith plan, and obviously we're gonna set Dust Shoot since we drew that, and we say go. So he draws the Grand Mark. We decide to Dust Shoot. I think I decided to send back Exiled Force for some reason. Oh no, I decided to send back Grand Mark. Oh, because he has Brain Control. I'm like, yeah, I don't want him to Brain Control Monarch me. Monarchs are obviously, you know, good against Chaos Monsters and so on and so forth. I'm not sure if this was necessarily the best thing to pick with Dust Shoot, but that was what I decided to pick. And I figured, you know, again, I don't think this guy's watching my stream. If I did think he was watching my stream, I might have sent back Reaper. But I didn't yet think he was watching my stream. So I figure, well, the worst case scenario is he goes Reaper cross out, and if he Reapers us, he only has like a 50-50 chance of hitting a Chaos Monster. So, you know, Reaper's fine. I'm like, you know, sucks our opponent has cross out, but what can we do? We banish all of our faiths. I do run 3 faith in this deck. Our opponent attacks us directly with Reaper. Again, I could book here, but I'm like, he only has a 50% chance hitting our Chaos Monster. Now, if you're our opponent and you have perfect information and you're discarding with Reaper, what would be the best card to discard? Well, it would obviously be Blackluster Soldier, arguably the best monster in GOAT format. And he rolls a dice. He picks 3. In no way is this Blackluster Soldier the 3rd card in our hand. But what does he pick? He picks Blackluster Soldier. So at this point, I'm like, if anything, this was what started to tip me off. I was like, okay, this guy rolls a 3 and hits our BLS. So now at this point, I am starting to get pretty suspicious. I'm like, there is something very strange going on here. So I decide to Chaos Sorcerer, banish the Reaper. Again, this is just a standard play. You know, we just decide to say go. Our opponent draws Delinquent Duo. He activates. I think he activates Delinquent Duo. Maybe? I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, he's thinking. Oh, he actually just decides to say go. Now he does, you know, he does know that our hand is 2 Thunder Dragons, right? That's how Thunder Dragon works. Here, you know, I decide not to summon Warrior Lady, I'm pretty sure. Or I don't know, maybe I do. Okay, I decided not to summon Warrior Lady. It's debatable. Because obviously, you know, if we summon Warrior Lady, we have to worry about, like, brain control, but we do have Book of Moon. So, I don't know. Maybe just not summoning Warrior Lady was a mistake. Maybe I thought our opponent sided in Mirror Torrential. It's like you don't really know, right? Alright, so what does our opponent do here? What does our opponent do here? So he activates Delinquent Duo. Alright, guys, now let's go through the exercise. If you're our opponent here, and you know our hand, what would be the best card to discard? What would be the best card to discard? It would be Snatch Steal. Am I right? Now our opponent rolls a 3. In no way is Snatch Steal the 3rd card in our hand, but he picks Snatch Steal anyways. And now this was the point at which on the stream, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this guy is watching our stream. I'm pretty sure he's watching our stream. And some people in the chat, I know there's one guy in the chat, he's like, yeah, man, you're full of shit. You're just mad because you're losing. And I was like, okay, that's fair. Maybe I am just mad because I'm losing. And again, at the time on stream, I didn't go back and watch every single thing that happens. And, you know, here again, you know, our opponent makes the right play. You know, he could go for Brain Control Blowback, right? Going Brain Control Blowback would normally be a pretty good play. The only way that it would not pay off is if we chained Book of Moon. But of course, we do have set Book of Moon. And of course, our opponent plays around the Book of Moon and uses Exiled instead. So it's our turn. I'm pretty sure I set the Dakochi here, just wanting to draw some more cards. Yeah, I just decided to set the Dakochi, say go. Our opponent draws Soul Exchange. Pretty sick card for him. when we have, you know, like Book of Moon and Dakochi set. So he goes Soul Exchange. He plays Blowback. He activates the effect. I think we chain it. Yeah, we chain it because we have Warrior Lady in our hands. And Blowback only has 1200 defense. I decide to summon Warrior Lady and attack. You know, of course, our opponent has, you know, only one card in hand, so I'm not really too worried yet. I figure there's not really too many ways this can go wrong here. I decide to not duo yet, figuring that most likely, you know, the most likely scenario is, again, if our opponent isn't cheating, the most likely scenario is he just draws a card and passes, and then we get to duo him for 2. So our opponent draws, and of course it's a pretty good draw for him, which is Grand Marg. Now, again, if you're our opponent and you don't know that we have duo here, what would the right play be? Well, the right play would be to probably pass, right? You have 3 goats to block hits, and you want to wait for us to set something, for Grand Marg. Now let's see what he actually does. He decides to set Brain Control and pass. Now, again, this is kind of, obviously, this is one of these 50-50s in the format where we haven't used Heavy Storm. So here, by setting Brain Control, he potentially gets blown out by Heavy Storm, but by not setting Brain Control, you'd get blown out by Duo. So normally this would be a 50-50, except in this particular circumstance, since he has a set Heavy Storm himself, ordinarily you would be making your own Heavy Storm worse, right, by setting Brain Control. So if you're our opponent here and you don't know that we have Duo and you're a decent player, this would not be a very good play. But again, he happens to sort of coincidentally pick the right play. Yeah, so here I'm just kind of like, well, our opponent, at this point, I'm pretty sure that he's watching our stream. So if I was up against, I don't know, a random opponent who I thought wasn't watching my stream, I would probably not duo here. Oh, and I guess I still don't duo here. I thought I activate duo for 1 card at some point. I forget when it is, but there comes a point where I decide to like activate duo for 1 card. And you know, again here, you know, we'll see what he does. I forget what he does this turn. So here he flips Brain Control. I imagine he attacks for 15. And then, yeah, he Grand Margs our set Wing Blast. We chain Wing Blast, discarding Thunder Dragon on Grand Marg. And he says go. So is okay play for him. It's kind of it's effectively like a 2 for 2 if you don't count the Thunder Dragon, or you can count it as a slight plus, I guess. So at this point here, you know, I decided to break her. You know, we get rid of the Heavy Storm, which is kind of a dead card for him. Might not be dead later. Yeah, I decided not to duo yet. Our opponent here, I think he really only has 1 play, which is to set Tomato and pass. I'm kind of on board with that. We don't have Sinister in our grave. I decided to just duo, or not duo, Graceful. Draw 3. And these are some pretty, like, shitty 3 cards, to be totally honest. I discard Heavy, because that's kind of a dead card. And I discard Card Destruction, because, like, our Thunder Dragons are gone, so this Card Destruction isn't going to do anything that great anytime soon. So yeah, we'll see what we do. Yeah, I just decided to duo him for the Grand Marg. We know it's a Grand Marg. And I figure, this monster might be Reaper, might be Midshield Gardna. Decided to attack the Goat, especially since he could top deck meta. He's used 0 metas yet. You know, decided to set the Dakochi and say go. Our opponent top decks Graceful, which of course is one of the best cards in the deck for him. And surely enough, he gets a pretty good card. And again, what's interesting here is that he decides to keep the Thestalos, right? Now again, say you're our opponent, and you have no idea what we have. Going for Thestalos here is a pretty risky play, right? Because, okay, yes, if it's like Dakochi, you can attack our Dakochi, tribute for Thestalos, and make us discard a card. But one of our Dakochis is already gone, and like most Chaos decks only play 2, sometimes 3 Dakochis. Now that play could work with Magician of Faith, but all of our Magician of Faiths are gone. So the only way that discarding Blowback Dragon and keeping Thestalos in your hand, the only way this is a play that makes sense on any level is if you know for a fact that our set monster here is Dakochi. If you just know it for a fact. Not that it's Spy, not that it's Night Assailant, not that it's Sanguine, if it's exactly the second Dakochi. And of course, our opponent flips up the tomato, attacks into the Dakochi, we draw a card, and our opponent tributes for Thestalos. Like, the standard play here would just be to go Blowback Dragon, tribute tomato for blowback, flip, target the Dakochi, try to run over the breaker, right? But instead, he goes for the Thestalos, which again only works if you just know for a fact that our set monster is Dakochi. Or something like Dark Mimic level 1. But, Chaos decks without meta generally don't play that. Here, this is just a standard play for us. We banish his guy, attack for 16, and we say, go. Our opponent draws Grandmarg, and and he says go. We draw Sinister. Yeah, I'm adding up the damage like, well, this is only 42. We need 46. So I decided to put him at 7. He doesn't have enough life points for brain control. So, that's pretty good for us. Decided to set Sinister. Not really much of a downside to setting Sinister. Our opponent, just does the standard play here. Goes Soul Exchange, Grandmarg, and pops our Sinister. Doesn't matter very much. And he says go. And you're going to love what happens at the end here, guys. You're going to love this. We top deck 1 Cyberstein that I decided to side in because Gravekeeper Spy is really bad in the matchup, and I just wanted like something else instead. I figured Stein is probably better on average than Gravekeeper Spy in this matchup. Getting like Lost Warrior from another planet's pretty good. Of course, in this case here, we have just enough life points to use our Stein, and the Cyberstein is game. So yeah, we do happen to win. I do think our opponent was watching the stream and being a scumbag, and perhaps karma rewarded us. Now, I want to hear what you guys think. Watch this match. Every time our opponent has a random discard, he hits the best card in our hand. He plays around cards that he has no reason to believe that we have, and, cards that, like, we only play one of, and that it doesn't really make sense to play around. But he always plays around exactly what we have. He never plays around, like, something that we don't have. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think about this match. Let me know if you think our opponent was scumming it. I think he was scumming it. And, even if he wasn't, I think it's a pretty interesting duel, interesting matchup. And, I certainly had fun, over analyzing this particular match. So yeah, take care, guys.